Hello and welcome to a Clear and Obvious podcast. Welcome back if you're a regular listener. We are back with our Euro 96 review. I'm joined as always by the delightful Sam Cole. Sam, how are you?
I'm great, thank you, Archie. I love the enthusiasm flowing from you today, and yeah, I'm not bad. How are you?
Not bad, mate. As you can see, I am glowing because England have once again lost on penalties. No, that's not the reason. It's just it's a sunny day. We're alive. It's a good day to be here. We've got improved audio, hopefully. So yeah, it's a good day to be around. How's your week gone, Sam?
Yeah, no, it's been all right, thank you. A bit boring, but that's just weeks in quarantine. How about you?
That's how it goes, isn't it? Yeah, no, I've had quite a good week. It was my parents' wedding anniversary actually, and I waited on them in a full on suit, and got them food and everything. So happy anniversary to mum and dad. Yeah, Kevin and Bonnie. It was their anniversary, so they had a great time. But yeah, it's been a fairly uneventful week other than that. But yeah, should we dive right on in?
Yeah, let's do it.
Sweet. So, yep, England. They played Germany, the age-old enemy. Same team that knocked us out of Italia 90 on penalties. And spoiler alert, 6 years later, they do the exact same thing. The game we played, obviously Germany at Wembley, the old Wembley, semi-final, and it's sort of an early evening kickoff. And yeah, 1-1 after regular time and a penalties loss, which is really
Hmm.
sad. Overall thoughts on the game, Sam?
I thought it was a great game for the neutral. A lot of attacking, extra time especially was very exciting. But yeah, heartbreaking for English fans, and us Germany fans will remember this for a long time, and
Yeah,
do.
they exactly, and but so do we because we're talking about it. So we remember it for a long time, but for all the wrong reasons, I fear. Um, yeah, no, it was as you say, a good game for the neutral, and really, other than penalties, a good game for both fans of either team. It was a stressful occasion, but ultimately, if you're a German fan, a rewarding one, and if you're Gareth Southgate, not so much. But yeah, it started off really kind of intensely, and it just sort of petered out a bit until that. Well, we'll talk about it later, obviously, but we went on to golden goal, and obviously on to penalty shootout. Do you want to? So England started off with their famous, not famous, but the three at the back that they'd employed a couple of games earlier because Gary Neville was suspended, and they didn't want to bring in his brother because they were like, he's too young to be going up against Germany. He's just going to get slaughtered, which is fair enough, I think. But yeah, overall thoughts on the England team selection? It was fairly expected, wouldn't you think?
Yeah, I don't think there's much they could have really changed. I mean, it's an experienced side. It's a solid side. I think the selection was actually pretty much spot on. To be fair.
Yeah, no, it certainly was. It was that back three again of Southgate, Adams, and Pearce. Platt joined Ince and Gascoigne in the centre of the park. Manaman on one wing, Anderson on the other, and the striking duo of Sheringham and Shearer starting again. SAS, and they got off to a flyer. Did England? What? Just past the 2 minute mark. Well, it was actually so it was sort of built up from a appalling speculative volley from about 35 yards out. He actually does really well to even get it on target, let alone test the keeper. And then it goes onto a corner, and then yeah, corner comes in, front post flick on from Tony Adams, and Shearer bundles it in. And you're thinking 1-0 against Germany at Wembley after 3 minutes. We're going to a final, lads. It's happening.
Yeah, it was a brilliant start. I mean, just start with Paul Ince's effort. I mean, why is he shooting from there? And the technique and just it's an incredible effort. I mean, the goalkeeper, like, if he hadn't have saved it, it'd been very poor. But it's still just such a great effort from him. And another really good corner from Gaza. A great flick on. I think England have been very good and quite deadly from set pieces throughout this tournament. And yeah, it's a good finish by Shearer, and England were rolling.
We really were, yeah. But that was almost. I think that's where our tournament peaked. I'm not going to lie. I think about 3 minutes into that semi-final is where, for England fans, Euro 96 peaked. And then it's kind of downhill from there on, really. Obviously, from an England perspective, that is. But yeah, no, we started the game off bright, getting a few early chances. There's always hope from set pieces when you got big players like Adams in there to flick it on to clinical finishers like Shearer, as we saw. Adams again with a rare assist, but he sort of dominating in the air. He did very well. And then Germany scored, which was quite sad. The 16th minute, I tagged their goal at. The unfortunately named Kuntz ended up scoring, a name that English fans will remember and perhaps mispronounce every now and then. But yeah, the ball sort of went through, came across, and I think he kind of caught Pearce napping, got in behind him and finished it. But you made a slight argument for offside. I'm intrigued by this because I didn't see any replays or any footage that suggested it was, unless you saw differently.
Well, I kept going over the footage of the goal for about like 2 minutes just to see if I could prove something against the goal, just to say, oh yeah, we were robbed here. And I'm pretty sure that I think it's eight. I can't pronounce his name, but the guy who had the ball played through by Moller. I feel like Southgate. At first, people thought Southgate was playing on one side, but I'm thinking if VAR was in play, his back foot was offside. When the ball was played, I think his back foot was offside.
Yeah, it certainly. I mean, I haven't seen the same angle as you have because you've gone back through it quite in quite some detail just to try and prove that there's some sort of case against that goal being allowed. But yeah, it was. I think it's Iltz. Yeah, Dieter Iltz, I think his name is. Who he could be offside, but I think that the fact that there's one arm up, and I'm pretty sure that's from Adams at one point. He's an arm up, not in a, yeah, we're going to stop playing, it's offside. It's so blatantly obvious. And the commentators don't really talk about it. And I looked it up because you sort of messaged me being like, I'm pretty sure it's offside. I looked it up afterwards and there was no one really saying we were robbed, but it's certainly, I think, if your view was right, which I'm not saying it isn't, then VAR, if it was in place at the time, might have had a little look at that and gone, actually, England, you stay 1-0 up, lads, so you've done bits.
Yeah, I think it would have been quite harsh. It's a nice goal, to be fair. I mean, poor from whatever his name, Pearce. It's poor from him. And you mentioned earlier that the Shearer goal was the peak of the tournament. That was this tournament's Trippier's free kick.
Yeah, no, it certainly gives some flashbacks to that. It's like where a tournament peaked in a semi-final very early on, and then it goes downhill. It's not great, is it? But yeah, overall, the rest of that first half, and to be honest with you, I mean, we'll go through it with some vague points, but nothing specific, because the rest of the 90 minutes wasn't great. It was kind of cagey. We use that term a lot here, but it was quite cagey. Large parts of the game where neither team really able to get a foothold in the game after the 2 goals, and it was almost like they were both kind of playing on the back foot, but almost scared to concede, because Germany had sort of had a wake-up call early on. But then, yeah, from there, it wasn't. England did very well in the game, I think, to keep up with a German side who were very good, albeit lacking a Jurgen Klinsmann up top. But yeah, I've got a couple of points I want to bring up for the majority just of the game as a whole, not specifically to the first half or second half. Are there any individual moments in any part of the 90 minutes, other than the goals, obviously, that stick out to you? Because I personally can't think of any.
I've got a few written down. There was a Sheringham had a volley cleared off the line from a set piece, which could have been a goal. Shearer headed just wide from like the edge of the box from like an Anderson cross. That's all that I've really got for the first half. Second half, nothing happened really. Let's be honest. I mean, I think the highlight of the second half was seeing some English fan lighting a cigarette in the crowd. I mean, just like. Pretty sure that's not allowed.
I don't know if it was allowed back then, because you used to be able to smoke in football grounds, didn't you? I just don't know when that law was abolished. Was it not abolished after the Bradford fire?
It was. That's what I think. I thought that was abolished Bradford fire, and that was before Euro '96. That was like at least 10 years before.
I should know this, considering my presentation I did a 15-minute presentation on it for one of our modules at uni. But yeah, it was certainly well before Euro 96. Obviously a tragic disaster, but yeah, I didn't actually clock that, to be fair, because it's so bizarre to see someone smoking in a football ground. It's kind of abnormal to us.
It was in 1985, so 11 years before that.
Yeah, good maths. There we go. So yeah, it was quite some time before. But if that's the main point that we're picking out of the second half, then you could it was a pretty dire half. I think it was. You mentioned a couple of chances for England. The Sheringham one that was cleared off a line, he hit very well considering it was behind him. Did the keeper have it covered, or am I remembering that wrong?
I don't think the keeper would have saved it because he got so much power on it. And if the player wasn't on the line, I reckon that's a goal.
Yeah. Okay, so that's quite a major chance. Shearer's header, didn't really threaten the goalkeeper, but it was a half chance. But yeah, no, neither team created a whole host of chances past that 16th minute point where Kuntz scored that goal for Germany. The few things that I've a couple of positives and some criticisms I've got of just the game as a whole. So England did very well against Germany the majority of the match. The only real criticism I'd have of any England performance, and I've backed him a lot while rewatching this tournament, is Teddy Sheringham, because aside from that chance, the issue we had with him was he was just dropping too deep and too often, and he would leave Shearer so isolated. So Babel, who fair play to him, did a brilliant job on him. He was just able to manhandle Shearer the entire game without the threat of Sheringham coming anywhere near him because he was dropping so deep, which isn't the worst thing. And it wasn't made to look as bad as it could have been simply because Gascoigne got up the pitch a lot more this game, and he was brilliant all game. He was absolutely everywhere. His fitness concerns prior to the tournament and early in the tournament were just completely got rid of in this game. He did really well, but I think we could have done with Sheringham giving Shearer some more support up there, I'd say.
Yeah, I'd agree. I don't think Sheringham had a great game. I was surprised to see that Venables didn't use any of the subs in this game. He didn't make a single substitution. When you've got some energy like the young Robbie Fowler who can give you something different. You have Les Ferdinand, who's a prolific goal scorer. You got Barmby. You've got these players on the bench to like bring on and make a difference. But it was interesting to see he chose not to use any of those players.
Yeah, well, in the whole 120 minutes of football, he didn't make a single sub, whereas Germany used all three, which is bizarre. The only counterpoint I'd have for that is that maybe he just wanted to stick with the same 11 players on the pitch, especially later in the extra time, just because he wanted to establish penalty takers on there. But then on the contrary, Robbie Fowler took a penalty against Spain and scored it. So, I mean, or he was on the list. I can't remember exactly if he took one, but he was on the list too, if he didn't actually take one. But yeah, so I do find it strange that he didn't bring on, and I've criticised him a lot because he's quite boring, but bringing on like a Steve Stone in that sort of situation maybe bring on Stone and Fowler. I know I've criticised him a lot for bringing on Stone, but this was probably the game that called out for him and Fowler the most, because it might have re-energised the fans. It would have given us some fresh legs on the pitch at a point in the game, especially going into extra time, which we'll talk about later, where we look very tired. But yeah, no, it would have fitted Fowler a lot to go on potentially for Sheringham, but maybe he wanted to keep him on with an eye on penalties in a more significant game than the Spain one, perhaps. But yeah, I certainly found that quite strange. But no, other than that, should we go into extra time golden goal, because it was the most eventful golden goal I've seen, despite being designed to bring some caution into the game. Pretty much golden goal. That's basically his purpose. This was the complete opposite, wasn't it?
Yeah, this was just chaos from start to finish. I mean, especially the first half of extra time. England was just like inches away, like numerous times from just winning the game, and it was just like so hard to watch you because you're just thinking they were that close to just beating like their like arch enemies Germany. It's just head in hands, like so close.
Yeah, it's because obviously the people at the time watching it will be like, they've missed again, but you've always got the hope And obviously, as an England fan, that's what kills you. You've got the hope that we could win on penalties, realistically. Because we won in the only really because we won in the round prior to that on penalties. If we hadn't have beaten Spain on penalties, A, we wouldn't be there, but B, we'd have obviously a lot less confidence in our penalty taking. But watching it back, it was just heartbreaking to see the amount of chances that we missed. I'll run you through a couple. So that first half of Golden Goal especially, the first one that stuck out to me was about 2 minutes in. McManaman, he might have been offside, but makes a run just in behind the German defence, cuts it back to Darren Anderson, and the German keeper does very well to get a touch on it. And that is the only reason it hits the post. It's a bit behind Anderson, but I reckon if the German keeper doesn't get a touch on that, that's going in. Because as much as we've slated in this tournament, if a German keeper does not get a touch on that, that goes in. But the reality is it comes out, the goal's gaping, and it hits the post.
It was so annoying. I still think he should have scored. I know the goalkeeper got a touch, and it was a bit behind, but I still think he's got to score that. It's a big chance, and he's just got to go in. I don't know how to describe it. He's got to score.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it's a howler as such. It's not like it's coming to him at a really nice pace, completely straight. It's coming in front of him as well. It's been pushed behind him by the keeper just before he's hit it. And it's kind of come off his shin. So I give more props to the keeper than I do sort of scathing of Darren Anderson in this situation, just because if he doesn't get that touch, he definitely scores. So I wouldn't say it's a howler of a miss, but it's one that you'd expect to go in any other circumstance other than that.
Yeah, it was maybe harsh to blame Anderson, who actually, to be fair, I mean, I've criticised him a lot in this tournament. I thought he was quite good this game for once. Like, he actually, there are a few times where he actually did what he's known for getting down the byline and getting a good crossing. Like, his crossing was a lot better, and a lot more accurate, and just happened more often. And yeah, I thought he had a solid game. So seeing him miss that was a shame. Would have capped off a really good performance.
Oh, massively, yeah. He was much improved in this game. He was looking more like McManaman had in the previous games because he was actually looking like a threat. We didn't solely have to rely on McManaman, who unfortunately the whole game was just getting double teamed because Germany realised he's our biggest threat going forwards and May just basically marked him out the game, which was a shame because he's been so brilliant in this tournament. But yeah, no, as you say, Anderson had a brilliant game. He showed a lot of fight and a lot of passion. It was almost like he had a point to prove going into this game, and he certainly proved that point. And that goal would have certainly proved any of the doubters wrong, and would have sent everyone home happy bunnies, and we'd have probably had a European Championship to our name. But we don't, because this is a slight tangent, but I reckon obviously Germany go on and they play the Czech Republic. If England beat Germany, we beat the Czech Republic too.
I think we'd smash that Czech Republic team. I'm thinking like 3-0. I'm sorry, this really? England team, yeah, it's so... I know no disrespect to that Czech Republic team, because don't get me wrong, it was a good team. However, and they had beaten teams like France, which is just an incredible achievement with the likes of Zidane playing for them. But this England team just played so well, and I'm not gonna lie, I don't think Germany, defensively, they were brilliant. Don't get me wrong, but going forward, they weren't a threat. England just kept pinning him back throughout the game. It was like unrelenting, even in extra time. I think this England attack would have been too much for Czech Republic, and we'd have easily dispatched them. But it is what it is.
Yeah, it is what it is. No, it was. I certainly think we would have gone on and won that final with the home crowd behind us at Wembley. But no disrespect to that Czech Republic team, as you say, defensively has been their key the whole tournament. They have been solid at the back the entire tournament. The only way they beat France was they basically parked the bus for 120 minutes and beat them on penalties. That's pretty much been their tactics the whole tournament, and they've done it to perfection. And the game they play against Germany in the final goes to a golden goal. But I do think I'm with you on that. I don't think we'd have battered them, but I think we would have had enough quality to have beaten them, and relatively comfortably. Not without scares, because we're England, and that's always going to happen. But yeah, if we could have put in a performance like this in the final, if we'd have got through to it, we'd have won. But we didn't. So we move on, which is it's heartbreaking. It really is. But yeah, no, back to the start of extra time. Germany had actually quite a good chance. It was Andreas Muller who was going to. He got a yellow earlier in the game. Was going to miss the final. He had a pot shot from about 25 yards out. No one really came and closed him down. And Seaman does actually very well to tip it over because it's sort of moving a little bit in the air. But he does very well to sort of, watch the flight of the ball and tip it over. And then comes the German goal that's disallowed, which is a big moment. And it's Kuntz again. He's penalised for dragging back Southgate, who's going for the ball. And he heads it in, but the referee's already just about blown up as the ball goes in for a foul on Southgate. My favourite part of this, possibly, is Paul Gascoigne on the line. Did you see what he tried to do? The header comes in, and Paul Gascoigne's at the back post. And he doesn't stop it from going in, but he literally jumps up and punches the ball. I love him. I love him so much, genuinely. And it was sort of a heart in mouth moment, I can imagine, for everyone watching that at the time, because you don't really hear the whistle at first, or at least for a good few seconds, that he's given a free kick. But it was a real chance. And thankfully, Southgate was fouled.
Yeah, we definitely got away with that. I mean, it was a foul, but for a moment you're like edge your seat, just like, oh no, we're 2-1 down. This is against the run of play, and just very, very unfortunate, really.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, as you say, it was certainly against the run of play, and it was a foul, but it was a brave call from the ref, because in such a heated situation and such a massive match, to give a foul like that in that era, especially, obviously it's not a million years ago, but it was a good while ago where fouls like that were often just glossed over. It was massive from him to give that, I'd say. But we go on 1-1 in extra time, and then just before the break, the best chance of the, other than the goals of the entire game. Do you want to run us through it, Sam? Because I don't think.
Yeah. Oh, it is. It's another just such a close chance. So the ball comes to Shearer, who it is a shot. It's most likely to be a shot, but he kind of messes it up, and the ball is just like flying across the box. And Gaza, who had just been running, like just ran his legs off, like making incredible runs throughout the game, just flings himself at it. And his like toe is just like, I'm not sure if he makes contact, but it's just like an inch away or like 2 inches away from just poking it in and scoring. It's like so close. England was so close to just getting that goal, and Gaza deserved it so much. And it was just such a near miss. It was so close.
It was horrible, wasn't it? Because you could just see he's thrown his entire body at it. He's had no reservations with it. He's a stud's length away from it. I think it was Keegan on commentary said if he'd have had his size 9 boots on instead of his 8.5s, he'd have scored and all this sort of thing. It is that fine margins that could have won us the European Championship, and it's agonisingly close. That could have been the game as well. That would have been the game right there. If he'd have put that in, you could just picture him running off, wheeling away in celebration, and the rest is a very happy history. And he just doesn't quite get there. And it's really annoying to watch back as well, because I watched back the highlights after the game just to make sure I picked up on everything. And you see Gascoigne's run, and there's a split second just before he's at the defender where he just pauses. And you think, if he carries on running, obviously he doesn't know. And it's a natural run for him to make, because it's one that he makes very often. He sort of staggers in the box and then goes. If he carries on running there, he scores. And it's that fine margins. And it is heart-wrenching to watch, because you can just see the agony on Venables' face, on the crowd's face, on Gazza's face. I think they fit the camera to Shearer's face as well, and you can just see it was. That was the moment. That was the moment, and yeah, that's pretty much just before half time of extra time, and it's sad. It's sad.
It's so frustrating to know how close we really were to beat Germany. I mean, I was watching this and just like so I didn't understand the pain, and now I really do. I'm just there. It was like I was watching it live, and I was just like, oh, so frustrating.
It is horrible. I don't know. I don't know. It's just so because I never until a couple of maybe like a week or so ago when I was just sort of watching stuff about the tournament. I never realised that this chance was a thing. I just thought, oh yeah, Gareth Southgate cost us a chance to win a European Championship on penalties. A cynical and probably naive and harsh view on it, but looking back at it now, there were so many opportunities for us to win it in normal time and not have to have the agony of penalties. But we move on. Half time of golden goal, extra time thing. What do you actually call it? Do you call it extra time or golden goal?
I call it extra time.
Yeah, because I guess it is, isn't it? It is extra time. But I don't know, it's just with different rules, so it feels weird calling it extra time. But we'll call it that. And Germany, I think they probably had the best chance of the second half. It dies down a little bit, this golden goal, but it's still the most this golden goal extra time. But it's still the most eventful, second most eventful half I've seen to a golden goal when I've watched the full thing through, and it was the second half of this. And it was, I think, I can't remember who put them through the ball, but it was Ziege who'd been brilliant all game for Germany. And he's through one-on-one with Seaman, and he just toe pokes it wide. But again, another massive chance for either team to nick it at the death. And then probably the big England chance that I can remember, at least, correct me if I'm wrong, was Shearer played through a ball to McManaman, and he was through on goal. And you must have been in the stadium thinking, this is it, this is our chance. And he's just so puffed out. You can just see he's just running on absolute steam. And he can't quite generate any sort of power behind it. His first touch is just sort of behind him as he's one-on-one. And in reality, it's quite a tame effort onto the German goal. But it's another chance for England. And it's agonizing. That whole extra time was as, if not more painful to watch than the penalty shootout.
It really was. I mean, the second half I think was pretty end to end, much more even. But that McManaman chance, it was like just the power on the effort was like you could tell that was going to happen because he runs so hard throughout the game, like he does every game. McManaman just never stops running, and it was just getting to that point where he was just out of breath, and it was just like everything left he could muster. And unfortunately, he didn't have the power to beat the keeper.
It was, yeah. It's just the whole of that extra time was just so painful to watch. And then, because I've seen England lose on penalties a host of times. I mean, you always see either clips of it or whole penalty shootouts. You see it. It happens. We lose on penalties. It's part of being English. That's what happens, at least until our most recent tournament. But I don't know. It's something about that extra time hits different by comparison to the penalty shootout. Now, we'll go on to the penalty shootout. You gave us such a beautiful run through of the Spain one that I had to put it together. And if you haven't seen the video already, go over to our social media and watch it, because it's probably the funniest 90 seconds you will have in quarantine ever. I'm going to put it out there. It's bloody funny. So go and watch it. But Sam, do you want to run us through penalties in maybe a slightly sadder way, considering we lose? But do you want to just? I'm not expecting anything like the Spain one. Don't worry. But just run us through the penalty shootout quickly.
Yeah, I mean, no pressure to try and recapitulate the likes of the Spain one, but I'll give it a go. So first up was the man Alan Shearer, who had just been brilliant throughout this tournament. Got a goal in this game, scored 5 throughout the tournament, I think I'm right. And he stepped up first for England, and top right corner, never in doubt really. I mean, just calm, composed, bang, goal. Brilliant, 1-0 England. Next was Hasler for Germany. He put it in the bottom left corner, really good pen. Seaman went the right way, but nowhere near it. I mean, unstoppable pen, 1-1. Then it was David Luiz, David Platt, who put it in the top right corner. Keeper went the right way, but again, nothing he can do. And the the top right corner was used quite a lot throughout this penalty shootout. Let's just say, but not for the next 2 penalties, as it was Strunz next for Germany, who put it in the top left corner. Seaman was nowhere near it. I'm pretty sure people in the crowd were closer to that penalty than Seaman. nothing he could really have done, though. So that's 2-2. Stuart Pearce, again using the left-hand side of the goal, I think probably for the last time until Southgate later, and we know how that goes. In the tournament, and Pearce just bottom left, at sparking absolute limbs in the crowd. I mean, everyone's going crazy. That is the biggest roar of the night. Everyone's going crazy. Everyone loves Stuart Pearce. He's made up for Italia 90, and it's party time. Or well, he thought. Reuter was up next to equalise for the Germans. Seaman got a touch on it, tipped it into the top right corner, but just didn't get enough on it, and it'd have been harsh to blame him for that one, really. Gaza to make it 4-3, and he did so. He top right corner before just screaming. He just scored it, and then just stood there just screaming his lungs off. Don't know what he said, but it probably would be a bit rude for this podcast to find out. Ziege was next, top right corner, 4-4. Everything's going in the top right corner. I mean, it was used so much. It's unbelievable. Sheringham was next, and have a guess where he put it. You're right, the top right corner. Keeper went the wrong way. The left-hand side, the goal was feeling really left out by this point. I'm not gonna lie. Kuntz, the goal scorer in the night, he scored twice with one of them ruled out. Another one of David Lewis's idols scored, putting the ball in the top right again. Then it was the moment that broke England hearts. It really was. Gareth Southgate. He went to the left, and the Kopka, the Frankfurt keeper, saved it. I'm not going to lie, absolutely woeful penalty. Should have probably gone to the right, because everyone who's gone to the right has scored. So a mistake there. He's like Jordan Henderson recently in the Colombia penalty shootout. Everyone was going the other way and scoring. He went the other way, missed it. Terrible. And Muller just smashed it down the middle to win it for Germany, 6-5, hearts broken, and just devastation.
Brilliant, Sam. Thank you very much. It was heartbreaking, and one of the things about this penalty shootout in particular is that up to that Southgate penalty, every penalty that's been taken is so good. Like, they've been placed inch perfectly. Like, none of the keepers are getting anywhere near any of the other penalties other than Southgate's absolute drivel that he just sort of passes to the keeper. And as you say, I don't know if he was watching the penalty shootout at all, but everyone who was scoring was going that side. And he limbers up as if he's going to go that side. And it's just bad. It just is. And I thought the one thing we'd have going for us would be the absolutely woeful kit that David Seaman had on. And it might put off the German strikers, because it's terrible. If you haven't seen it, it's like a red with blue and green and yellow weird little pattern on it. I don't really understand it. I'm not a fashion designer. I don't know how to describe it exactly, but it's awful. And I thought that would have been enough to put off some of the German players, but evidently not, because they're German and they can take penalties, unlike us. It was sad. It was sad to see. But the scenes after the game it's weird, because I was watching them, and it gave me goosebumps after the game. And I can't really describe why, but it was just like the unity of that England team, the fans singing their hearts out despite losing crushingly on penalties, everyone going over and consoling Southgate. And then that moment, I don't know if you saw it, where Adams puts his arm around Southgate and brings everyone in, gets them to go over to the England fans and celebrates. That, for me, that is, I'll go on to talk about our man of the match later, but that was unbelievable. That was really, really good to see. Also, one of the German... I'm not a massive fan of Stuart Pearce swapping shirts with one of the German players. I don't mind shirt swapping as a whole. But after that, and then the German player had Stuart Pearce's shirt on, it's all a little bit weird, I think, at least. I don't know, maybe it's just me being weird, but I think that's a little bit odd.
I think he did it more out of the respect, just saying, you've played amazing, and a respect to Pierce saying you did as well. But honestly, if the penalty shootout didn't make me sad enough already, the scenes after the game, I was almost in tears. I mean, it was so just like just seeing everyone just get behind Southgate. You're seeing Venables just running over Jurgen Klinsmann. Literally, all the German players were off like going mental, and Jurgen Klinsmann's going around every single England player and just consoling them. And it's just the sportsmanship showed. And then, as you mentioned, the Adams thing, bringing everyone, the whole team in Southgate over to the England fans. Before this tournament, the England fans weren't behind this England team. There'd been such a divide. They weren't filling Wembley. There was such a divide between the England team and the fans. And just this tournament united the fans of English football and made every English fan just love football again. And just to see that unity was just beautiful.
Yeah, it makes you proud in a non-pat. Not in it just makes you proud of your country. I wanted to word that carefully because I've been accused of that before on the podcast. But it just makes you proud to be an England fan of football, and that, as you say, it was a precarious era for English football. We hadn't been to the World Cup before. The media were on the team's back, the fans were on the team's back, and just to see that unity, it was incredible to see. Euros in your own country. I mean, I can only imagine the scenes after the games and just the whole country coming together behind one team, and they did so well. And yeah, that's why it was so heartbreaking to see them lose at that point. But complete props to this England team. Realistically, looking back at it, we should have won the tournament. We'll say that. We're English. A German will tell you, no, they deserve to win the tournament. A Czech could tell you that, no, we deserve to win the tournament. Fine, okay. A Frenchman could tell you, loads of different countries could tell you, because it was such an open tournament. But home country, very good team, historically good manager, did very well, but I don't think they did as... I don't want to say did as well as they could have, because they had the potential to win this tournament, but they did incredibly well, but they had potential to do better, I think.
Yeah, I think that before this, expectations were quite low because the England teams had just been underperforming. They had just become the new norm, and everyone was just kind of like, oh, this England team isn't going to do anything. And then they come to this tournament, get to the semi-final, and you're thinking, we could win it here. If you look, because the team was brilliant, like such a talented team. Terry Venables, this was his last tournament in charge of England, and just a brilliant, like historically brilliant manager. I mean, supposedly biased towards Tottenham players. Whatever you say about him, he was brilliant. Admittedly, probably could have done made a few tactical changes, like bringing on subs, but his team selection was right the majority of the time. I think he managed the team brilliantly. And brilliant man management, especially at the end of the game with Southgate, and just coming out over to him, just saying, you can be proud of your performance. It doesn't matter about this penalty shootout. You can be really proud of how you've played.
Completely. It was that unity we showed, and it was a very good tournament, and once you've got over the initial heartbreak of a penalty shootout loss, you can look back on. And that's why ITV have given us a rerun, because people have such fond memories of a tournament. We came so close to winning it all. Venables, looking back on it, this might be slightly controversial, but looking back on it, a lot of people put Terry Venables in a similar boat as Bobby Robson and Sir Alf Ramsey in terms of legendary England managers that I can think of, at least. I don't think on a competitive stage you can put him in that list. And don't get me wrong, I am not taking anything away from the team's performance and his performance in this European Championships. But if you look at it, as an England manager, he coached how many competitive games? This is his own tournament that he coached as an England manager, right? We drew to Switzerland. We scraped we were terrible for the majority of the Scotland game and somehow managed to beat them. We were brilliant against the Netherlands, fair play. We got battered 0-0 by Spain. and we then drew and lost on penalties to Germany. So his overall record is 1-2 in normal time, if I'm right in saying, and then drew 3. And they were all at Wembley with a generationally good team. That is my only criticism on Terry Venables' legacy as a manager. In this tournament, he's done very well, but it's slightly off topic, but looking back on his legacy and England managers as a whole, I think he's put in slightly higher regard because of the fond memories we have of this tournament. That's my only point. Great manager, but yeah, that's my only slight bone to pick.
I would argue something similar with the recent World Cup in 2018, because everyone was saying, "Oh yes, Southgate, he's been amazing." It's like, well done, right? We scraped to win with Tunisia, like who were terrible, like we should have smashed them. We beat Panama, round of applause. Tunbridge Angels could have beaten Panama. I mean, yeah. Then we lost to Belgium. They're like, we didn't play a competitive team. All right, then. Well, that's his fault. Then we drew against Colombia, again winning on pens. Like, we should have beaten them. Let's be real, we're better than Colombia. Then we beat Sweden, not hard. Again, like, fair play, they've tried hard in this tournament.
It's for England to beat Sweden. That's historically, it's been quite hard, but yeah, their team wasn't brilliant. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. For example, like, they, don't get me wrong, they've overperformed in the tournament, but they were still not a hard team to beat. We then came up against Croatia, who we should beat. I'm sorry, we should beat Croatia because they have a few like decent players, but we've got a better squad overall, and we lost to them. And then we lost to Belgium, who I think we have a better squad than Belgium. Maybe because Belgium's squad's more about the individuals, because individually they're great, but as a team, England, I reckon, can match them, and we barely did anything against Belgium. So it's similar, I think, for the recent tournament with Southgate. I think everyone's like, he's a brilliant manager, and I think, well, he got Middlesbrough relegated, and he didn't actually do that well this tournament.
Yeah, I think there's certainly similarities to be drawn between the two. My only argument would be Venables said this was going to be his last tournament. I think Southgate's still got a chance to prove that he can go on and do better with this England team. Because it's a young England team and they can still go on and do better. And I think he should definitely, it's slightly off topic, but should be obviously given another major tournament to see what he can do with this young team. Because I'm of the opinion that obviously our recent World Cup performance was slightly overrated, I'd say. But it was similar to this Euro 96 one, where it just brought together the country. And I don't think you can necessarily put a price on that. Because when you look at individual manager performances, fine, Neve has been setting the world alight, but they're both with a fairly, with a team that's admired by fans, with certain players in their team. This England team, admittedly, is younger than the Euro 96 one, obviously now, but at the time. And I think that you can certainly draw similarities, and this isn't a podcast to just gave Gareth Southgate in the same podcast that he's missed a penalty and we're ripping him about the World Cup performance. But it's an interesting point to make, certainly. We've strayed slightly off topic there, but do we want to go back and just give our man of the matches really quickly?
Sure. I'll kick us off. My man of the match is Paul Gascoigne. Throughout this tournament, I don't think he's particularly been at his best. I think his performance in this tournament was massively overhyped just for his goal against Scotland, which is a brilliant goal, don't get me wrong, but I feel like his overall performance was overhyped. But in this game, best performance of the tournament, not even close. Bear in mind there was fitness concerns for the tournament. Is he fit enough to play? He played the full, all the way to penalties, and he was running through, the runs he was making, he was just better on the ball. He was creating more chances. He was so close to scoring. He scored a great penalty. The passion he showed, he put everything on the line to try and get England that win. And I think it's so admirable. And just his performance, I think, was the best of the tournament. And I've got to give a man of the match for that.
Yeah, he was unbelievably good. And with Gascoigne at this point, it was like, again, playing against Germany in a semi-final. We know what happened in Italia 90 with Gaz's tears and all this sort of thing. Come back and play against Germany and just go out there and prove that despite, bear in mind, he's had an injury-riddled time in his last 6 years since Italia 90. He's playing for Rangers, which isn't the highlight of his career. Again, no knock on the Scottish League. But he's been through a really tough time. And he's been absolutely hammered by the press, but no change there. And yeah, no, I can completely see why you've given him man of the match. And he was a close second in mine. But I've given it to Tony Adams. Because honestly, and this game was his best game. Probably in an England shirt, I'd say. He bossed it at the back. He was intercepting basically everything. He kept their strikers fairly quiet, aside from the goal, but he wasn't even marking Kuntz. But he nullified any German attack. Put him up against Klinsmann in this game, could have been a different story. But he wasn't up against Klinsmann. And I think he would have done an okay job on Klinsmann. The German attack wasn't amazing, but I think Adams was just so solid at the back. And it was the leadership that he showed in a formation that they haven't played all too regularly, with a younger defender next to him and Gareth Southgate, who also played very well. I think they both elevate each other's performance massively, especially in this England team. And then just the leadership he showed throughout the game, just to command the game from the back. He was just making tackle after tackle. He came over and covered when either Anderton or McManaman hadn't quite got back on the wings. And the entire game, he was so assured at the back. And he has really stepped into that captain's armband this tournament. And then the scenes after the game, I know you don't judge a man on the match performance based on what happens after the game, but he's just a great bloke, isn't he? He's a cracking fella. Now, obviously, I'm slightly biased because I love the man, but he was really good. I see why you've given it to Gascoigne, and on another day I could give it to Gascoigne as well, but I think Adams is well and truly up there as a very good candidate, and that's why I've gone with him. Shall we, and I haven't prepped you on this before, so apologies, but shall we, as the England's tournament's done, shall we give a player of the tournament? And I can go first if you need a little bit of time to think.
Let's do it. You go first.
Okay, I'm going with Shearer. I don't think we've only given him a couple of man of the match performances, but that's because it's almost like what we've come to expect in this tournament, with him just scoring goals for fun. And if we don't have Shearer in this tournament, and we say we start a Fowler or a Barnby or anyone else in this tournament, we have so much depth at that striker position, because we didn't even have Ian Wright at this tournament, and which is just beyond me. But he didn't play that many times for England anyway. But it's just there are so many incredible attackers in this England lineup, and for Alan Shearer to set himself apart from those at a period where he's struggling for goals coming into the tournament, he's just proved himself to be an elite level striker. And he was top scorer in the tournament with 5 goals, as you say, in a tournament where there weren't many elite strikers other than really him and Klinsmann, fine. But he was top scorer in his home tournament, massive pressure on him. And every time there was pressure on him, he stepped up. He didn't let us down. And he was always there to put in any chance that came his way, other than a couple. But he was brilliant. And he's my England player of the tournament, because he was just so assured up top. And he put himself into that world-class bracket, I think, with that performance.
Yeah, Shearer has been was phenomenal throughout this tournament. I agree, but the man I've gone for is the opposite end, the one keeping him out. It's David Seaman. He has been just absolutely brilliant throughout this tournament. He's kept us in numerous games. He's made so many crucial saves. The way he organises his defence, he's just he's a great bloke. I know that's not really to do with it, but in the interviews after the game, you could tell he's just a great guy. But his performances were phenomenal through the tournament. I mean, he saved a penalty, which wasn't done in a major tournament until Soccer Age, when what's his name, Neil from the In-Betweeners saved one. I mean, it'd been a while, but yeah, it was an amazing moment.
Yeah, no, I can't believe you got Neil from the In-Betweeners in there. That's probably, I think that's where we cap off the podcast. Not obviously as a whole, but this episode. Yeah, so your player of the tournament's David Seaman, mine's Alan Shearer, both brilliant. This England team as a whole was incredible. It goes down in history as we're talking about it as one of the best England teams to put on a shirt. And they were iconic. It's a shame they weren't able to wear that iconic white shirt in this game because the grey bluey kit that we wore is absolutely disgusting in my opinion. And I don't think that helped us one bit. I reckon if we win that coin toss before the game and wear the white shirts, we win. A very fashion-based opinion, but I don't seriously think that'd be the case. But I don't think it helped. But yeah, England in this tournament did very well. As we say, they came into it with not an awful lot of expectation, but the potential to do very well. And they delivered, I'd say. Without winning it, they did very well. They delivered. And yeah, that's pretty much all we've got to say on it. We'll be back for the final. We'll talk about that. Obviously, England not in it. We may or may not have a special guest for that one as well. So keep them peeled for that. But do you want to sign us off, Sam?
Yeah, thank you for watching, guys. This is where England's tournament came to an end. It's a shame, but yeah, we'll be back talk about the final. Which is Czech Republic against Germany. And yeah, special guests to look forward to. A really big name, so look forward to that. But yeah, thanks for watching, guys, and see you later.
Goodbye.